Hi guys, welcome back to Recaps Pro.
A 2003 thriller romance movie, named Wicked Minds. So, let's begin. Holden Price, a young boy, runs out of the house with someone pointing a gun at him. As he runs, he says people think his generation will be the worst because his age does not believe in anything, whether God, man or government. He runs until he gets to a river, and he can no longer run again. The person chasing him brings the gun near him, and he says that at that point in his life, all he can think of is trust no one. It all starts a day ago. Holden is in the interrogation room, and two detectives set the camera up for his interview. The lady, Clarkson, asks him if he consents to the video, and the second detective, Mormino, begs him to say the truth during the interview. He starts the interview by talking about himself. Holden, the son of a prosperous businessman, Mason Price, who owns a footwear company. Parents have been divorced for years, and none of them remarried. He lost his mother about 2 years ago. He graduated from Harvard last spring. He talks about Mason and says with him, he learned never to put hope in someone. Growing up in a separated family, Mason provided for him. He ensured he attended the best high school. He was never without funds. He had money, and he could travel around the world. Mason ensured he could study at Harvard, and as long as it involved money, Mason is always involved. However, if it's any other responsibility, trust Mason to be absent. Upon finishing university and after traveling around England for over 2 years, he gets a call from Mason, who asks him to come to Chicago. That seems like a great idea because he has been over and around for about 2 years, and visiting Chicago could be a good break for him. He hopes that visiting Chicago to see his father after 2 years of being absent will be a great advantage and make him closer to his father. He hopes that his visit to Mason will not be like the usual visit for money. He arrives in Chicago with high hopes, and when he enters, he makes a sound that scares his Madeline. Madeline turns and sees him. She hugs him passionately and welcomes him, not after insulting him for leaving them for about 2 years. Holden asks Madeline about Mason, and Madeline tells her Mason is upstairs, and Mason has a surprise for him that he told her not to tell him. Madeline says Mason wants it to be a father-to-son secret. Holden goes upstairs to meet his father, and just like he would have done on a normal day, he opens the room and opts. He finds a lady almost naked in the room. He apologizes to her and says he didn't know she was there, then closes the door. He meets Mason, who is excited to see him. They hug, and Mason says he has a surprise. He calls the lady inside the room with the pet name Sweetheart, and the lady comes out. He introduces the lady as Lana and tells Holden that she's his love. Holden assumes Lana is a girlfriend and asks when they started dating. Mason says she isn't his girlfriend but his wife, and they are married. It's obvious Holden is shocked at this. He walks away with Mason, and when Mason sees he looks like he isn't happy, Mason asks if he isn't happy for him, but he tells Mason he is just shocked and hasn't taken in the information. He asks Mason why Mason didn't tell him about the marriage, and Mason says it's because he wants to surprise him and it's worth the wait. After that conversation, Mason tells him he has an opening night at a museum that is to be named after him, and they are all going. Mason goes to dress up, and Holden walks towards Lana, who is with her bedroom robe. They attend the party, and Mason meets Harry. He comments that Harry was the man who made him put a large sum of money into a museum, and Harry replies that it's Lana who convinced him. Harry seductively hugs Lana, and Mason also introduces Harry to Holden as his lawyer. Harry asks for Mason's help in convincing the guest about the fundraising, so Mason asks Lana to take Holden around while he goes for what he wants to do with Harry. With Lana, Holden apologizes for opening the door to her room, but she shuts him up and tells him it will be their little secret. She comments that he has his father's looks and asks how many girls he broke their hearts at school. He tells Lana about Stacy, his ex-girlfriend, who broke up with him before graduation. Shortly after, Lana excuses herself and goes to meet Harry. She hugs and speaks to him before bringing a girl, Nicole, to Holden. She introduces Nicole to Holden as her running partner, and Nicole also acknowledges that Holden is cute. She leaves Nicole with Holden and tells him to forget Stacy. During the auction, Mason buys a beautiful piece of jewelry for Lana as a gift, and they return home with Harry. At home, Lana wears her pretty necklace, and when Harry says he is leaving, she hugs him and kisses him. Mason offers to see Harry off, and when he returns, he holds Lana by her neck and asks her what she was telling Harry at the party. She tries to convince him that she was trying to appreciate Harry's good work and she isn't flirting, but he squeezes her neck telling her it's not a good view to see her flirting with his staff. Holden calls his father to act well, and Mason stops. The next day, Holden sees Lana gardening. He goes to meet her and comments about what happened the last night, but she tells him she is fine. Mason arrives and calls Holden. He takes him to his garage, where he shows Holden a car he just bought which he calls his pet. He tells Holden they will be having a day together and takes him to his company. However, as they get there, Mason is called for a union meeting, so he breaks his date with Holden and Holden returns home. Holden looks at Lana from her room and touches her panties on the bed. When she enters, he drops it quickly and tells her that his engagement with Mason has been cancelled. Lana offers to have her bath, so they can go out together. After dressing up, she drives Mason's new car and tells Holden that she can always calm Mason down if he gets angry that she used the car. She says she will take him to her favorite place, and he asks her to drive to a local bar. He is shocked a place like that is her favorite place, and when they knock, they figure the owner is absent. He suggests that they go to another bar, but she refuses the suggestions and says the owner of the bar used to drop his keys. She picks up the keys, and they enter. He asks her why she loves the bar, and she tells him it reminds her of where she came from, the small village where all they do is drink and get laid. They drink and get drunk. The owner of the bar arrives, and they hide. They bend beside each other, and when the owner leaves, they start kissing. They make out on the bar table, and after they finish, they leave for home. At home, Holden overhears Lana's argument with Mason. The next day during their breakfast, Madeline's birthday, Mason books her on a week spa trip. He also tells Holden he has asked Nicole to come for dinner with them. That day, Mason and Holden play basketball, and Mason hits his stomach to warn him not to use his car again. That night, Lana comes to meet Holden in the kitchen, and they start kissing. They kiss and continue in the room. Mason notices Lana's absence and comes to check for her, but she hides in the cupboard, and Holden says he hasn't seen her. Nicole arrives for dinner. During the dinner, Holden talks about his interest in architecture and says he wants to further his academy, but he tells him he doesn't have money to waste on him again, and he needs him to have an actual plan. That night, Lana and Holden meet again, and Holden says Mason wants to control him. They have sex, and the next day, Mason asks to go hunting with Holden. During the hunting, he asks Holden if he knows what Lana is doing these days, but Holden denies knowing anything. As Holden hunts, he contemplates killing Mason, but he can't. He meets with Lana outside the house, and they have sex. They depart, and on his way, he meets a man who stops him for a while. When Holden reaches home, he finds out his father has been murdered. He and Lana are taken for questioning, and he says he was at the theater that day. Upon arriving home, Lana says she was with Nicole after their encounter, and Nicole has a video of their act after the dinner. Also, Harry calls Holden and tells him he suspects that the person Lana was seeing was the culprit. Harry finds out Holden is lying about his alibi and also says an anonymous source sent him the video of Lana's sex with him at the bar. Since Holden is the sole executor of Mason's will, Harry figures Lana may be framing him for his father's death, so when Holden is imprisoned, she will get the properties. He gets home, and he sees Lana has settled everything. She has written a suicide note in Mason's car. When Holden finds the note, she enters. He thinks she wants to attack him, so he runs. She said she only came to check the garage. He goes to Harry and shows him the note. At this point, Lana has absconded. Holden gives his account of the issue, and Nicole confesses that Lana told her to video them and that she and Lana are lovers. Also, the beggar gives Holden's alibi, and he is released. Harry later tells Holden that his father was killed with a lethal poison which Lana uses in gardening. That night while Holden is alone at home, Nicole comes. He reveals she is Stacy, and it was all planned by them, and they were the ones who poisoned Mason. Apparently, they coincidentally were on the island when Mason did his wedding with Lana, and they planned their betrayal since then, so Stacy pretends as Nicole to get closer to Lana and Mason. It was also Stacy that pretended to be Lana at the airport. He asks her if she killed Lana, but she says Lana fell off the cliff. They go there, and they find Lana's necklace. They assume she has died, and Stacy leaves. That night, Lana comes to Holden with a gun. She shoots him and chases him with the gun. Before finishing him, the police shoot her, and she falls off the cliff. Holden does his father's funeral and tells Harry he is leaving. He leaves with Stacy, and the movie ends here. So I hope you enjoy the video. So click any video of 3 them and enjoy next, and don't forget to subscribe our channel and hit the like button. Thank you for watching. See you soon.